Hi, I'm Adam Vergara, and you're watching Tennis Ninja TV.
Aloha, tennis fans. Welcome once again to Tennis Ninja TV. I am your host, Shane Cash, the Tennis Ninja. And guys, if you like the content you're about to see in a second, give that subscribe button a click down below and support Tennis Ninja, guys, because if you support us, you're helping grow the game, whether you know it or not. Our mission is to help make this game more visible, and social media is just one way to do it. But guys, enough about me. It's about our guest today, guys. And I have a guest who, if you are a hardcore Hawaii tennis fan, you know this name, and you've seen him do his thing on the court, guys. I have a guest who's won 3 conference WAC championships in a row for the University of Hawaii, Manoa. Maybe one of the most successful players ever to come out of that program. He's been on the pro tour, guys. He's trained with Michael Chang for a few years. He's learned a lot. He's going to share a little bit about that here. He's a multiple-time men's night doubles champion. He even reached a career high of ranked 535 in the world in the pros, guys. It's my honor to introduce to you Dennis Lajola. Dennis, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Shannon. Excited to be on the show, and definitely excited to kind of talk about tennis and my journey, along the way for sure.
Right on, man. Well, Dennis, we got to start with the obvious, man, just because we haven't seen you in so long, and I'm sure the Hawaii guys are all curious. What have you been up to the last, couple months and really a couple of years, I guess, since you've been around here?
Yeah, I mean, in 2018, I decided to move up to the Portland, Oregon area. I've always had a passion for sportswear product, and so, I just had to make a kind of like a career pivot from real estate to getting to the sportswear industry, and that was kind of the deciding factor of moving to Oregon, which is kind of like the hub of sportswear brands. Lucky enough to be working at Nike for the last couple of years, and that's kind of what I've been doing since 2018. So it's been an exciting and new challenge for the last couple of years, and trying to stay safe in these current times with COVID and then with Oregon fires, but fortunately we're safe here, so excited about that.
Right on. That's good to know. And just FYI, I think a few people's jealousies just went up that much when they said you're working for Nike, which means you probably get free gear. How's that?
I don't know about free, but we definitely get good discounts for sure. And I've always had a love for the brand, so it's one of those. It's can't work at any other place that I can think of that would be better for my lifestyle and my passion.
You have Hawaii ties and the Philippine ties, and it's inspiring to always see someone make it and break out like the way you did and have the experience you had. But we all want to know the $1 million question. Where does someone like you, Dennis, first start in tennis? What attracted you to the game when you were such a young kid, and what made you choose the sport?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm just like everyone else. My dad played recreationally growing up. And so, me and my brother Derrick kind of just followed him one day to the tennis courts when I was 4 years old, and organically fell in love with the game. I think at that point on, we end up going to the tennis court almost every day. And, as each day kind of went on, you started to play a little bit more tennis, and, I was also interested in other sports as well. Like when I was at 4, 5, 6 years old, I've played baseball in, the Hawaii League. So I played T-ball and Pee-wees. And so playing both sports, from 4 years old to like 6 years old, 7 years old, it was kind of like a 2-sport type of family. I realized like the only way I can kind of excel in one sport was to kind of let go of the other. And I just fell in love with tennis way more than baseball, just because everything was up to me. I can control more in tennis, and I love the physical aspect of it. So it was a no-brainer to choose tennis at such a young age. And I think that the rest is history in a sense of playing tournaments and then choosing it as a lifelong career for a sport.
That kind of segues into what I wanted to chat about next, was your junior career. A lot of people have come to know you for what you did in college and then being in the pros, but I'm really curious about what you did as a kid playing tennis and coming up the ranks in the whole first place. Do you remember any particular memories or any experiences you would like to share with us about your junior days?
Yeah, I mean, You know, I started off playing all the inter-island tournaments, you know, the local designated tournaments. You know, even I think back in the day when I was playing, you know, they had novice, intermediate, and then your Grand Prix turn as far as levels. As I don't know how it is now as far as how they're categorizing each level of tournaments. And also played the junior leagues in Hawaii as well. So it's one of those. It's like, you know, when I was younger, when I was 6, 7, 8 years old, I played as much tournaments as I can, played as many matches as I can. And, you know, just kind of getting used to how to win. The more, you know, you win, the more you feel confident about yourself, and you play harder tournaments. And so, you know, my journey as a junior, you know, was starting off from like everyone else, the same type of tournaments, and then, you know, making a high enough ranking where you can play, you know, on the mainland. In the summertime and in the wintertime. And one win led to another. And I realized, you know, that I can go far in the mainland tournaments. And that's where I really started to believe that, you know, I can really push myself outside of, you know, Hawaii. There was one tournament that kind of turned everything around for me as far as kind of getting noticed, you know, on the bigger stage in the mainland and internationally was, it was a winter Super Nationals in Tucson, Arizona. I believe I was 13 at the time, but I was playing the 14s, and, you know, there were USTA high performance coaches kind of all watching, and, you know, scouts watching as far as the USTA federation wise.
Wow.
And I ended up winning the backdraw for it, and then also winning a bronze ball for doubles. And so, you know, I was lucky enough that I beat those high ranked players in that tournament to get a spot on the high performance team to go travel to Europe. And so I think that moment is when I realized, you know, that maybe I can really do damage mainland and internationally. And that's when I really kind of built that confidence in myself that I can beat anyone on the court moving forward. And so, yeah, that's where it really, you know, it was really at that point, you know, in December and January where things skyrocketed, and I wasn't really, everything went a million miles per hour at that point. Going from playing, the designated tournaments in Hawaii and just some super national tournaments in the mainland to mostly not really playing in Hawaii anymore and playing just more international events from the year on. So that kind of led just to really a lot of different tournaments, a lot of different competitions, from Junior Davis Cup to Junior Grand Slams to high performance, you know, events and training camps, and really moving up to Florida and LA to train full time at some academies. And, you know, that tournament, I remember in when I was 13 playing the Super National Winners, changed kind of how my trajectory was as a junior tennis player.
It really does sound like, you know, as a lot of these other players I've been asking about with their past in juniors, it really was kind of a journey of self-discovery of kind of, I guess, your skills as well as who you are on the court and what you could become for the future.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. It was one of those, like, I got a call from USTA when I was at the airport in Tucson, like when I finished a tournament, and they're like, hey, we saw you play, you know, we see that you have a lot of potential. We have 2 of the biggest 14 events in the world that we want to bring, you know, that we're inviting if you wanted to play. And I kind of knew what that tournament was, you know, because everyone was talking about it. That week, everyone was wanting to do really well. Like all the top juniors in that, you know, in the age 14 and under were talking about it. Like, oh, who's going to get the last 2 spots on this high performance team to go to Europe? And I didn't know anything about it coming from Hawaii. So I was just kind of playing my game. I'm like, I don't think they're even going to choose me because they probably don't even know who I am. Yeah. And then I get a call, you know, when the tournament's over, and the invite happened over the phone. And I think that was like one of the best phone calls I've ever had, because,
wow,
you know, it was a big accomplishment for me at that point. And then, you know, as I mentioned, like, things just happen at a million miles per hour.
You had some incredible experiences too. Like, you've been as far as the semifinals in Kalamazoo's junior tournament, which is one of the biggest, you already said, the biggest junior tournament maybe in the United States. You played in the Junior Grand Slams, which not many people are too familiar with. They just see the big guys, you know, Federer, Nadal, Djokovic, those guys. But the Junior Grand Slams, that's kind of like another platform to kind of get you ready for something like that in the future and kind of help you consider what's next. Do you remember any of those experiences in particular, traveling, playing the Junior Grand Slams or Kalamazoo?
Yeah, I mean, those are probably what I remember most, as a junior, when, the tournaments that you remember, like the experiences that you really gain, throughout the year. I remember, I think I was 15 when I played my first US Open Junior Grand Slam. I think it was 15 or 16. I got a wild card, and that kind of exposed me to what the Grand Slam kind of atmosphere is like for a junior tournament. Mm-hmm. And if people don't know, like the Junior Grand Slams is your top 48, top 64 players that are 18 and under. So the International Tennis Federation, I think, is what they call it still, is ITF. So it's separate from, your domestic, USTA rankings and, the European rankings and so forth. So everyone had their different rankings, but ITF is kind of all base system type of ranking. So you earn your points, and it's basically the best in the world, people who are playing pros but still under 18 that are still playing these circuits. And so same thing with how that all happened. It's, I played the small tournaments like all the other top nationally ranked US kids were doing, traveling with them to the same tournaments, and then, gradually kind of getting my ranking better so I can play bigger tournaments. What really made me qualify for all the Grand Slams was 2006, where I had a great first 3 or 4 months on the ITF circuit. I believe I finaled a lot of the big tournaments to get my ranking high enough to rank 31, I believe. And so which kind of made me have an automatic entry into the Grand Slams, because you have to be top 40 to get automatic entry for the Grand Slams. So I was able to kind of get my ranking high enough to play, French Open, Wimbledon, US Open, and Australian Open. And so, those were all amazing experiences. They're basically, you're playing the same venue, the same match times as, the pro circuit, the pro players do, like you see on TV. If you see everyone's names on the wall, like junior Grand Slam winners, you see the same names that you see on the pro circuit. So it's like every pro player has gone through the same system in the ITFs. And that's kind of like a step that you don't really skip. Some people, bloom and do well a lot later in their careers, but a lot of the thriving stars like Shapovalov all go through the same ITF circuit, which is interesting. And it was, fun meeting so many great players. But again, yeah, like the best tournament I ever played, hard to say, because, I've had great memories at, the US Open, just being an American, and also, playing in that atmosphere in New York City is amazing. I've always played well at Australian Open. So that kind of has like a good memory to me every time I go to Melbourne. But then you got Kalamazoo, our biggest junior event for the boys side. And, it basically seems like you're playing at a Grand Slam because of the atmosphere. It's the town does a great job of hosting it. And, I was fortunate enough to be seeded 1 for the 16s event, like 1 year. And, and it was one of those, it's like a lot of pressure. There's a lot of pressure. Everyone's gunning for you. All the USTA coaches, all the college coaches, all the sports agent, are scouting you out. So it's a lot of pressure. It's one of those, it's like, it's hard to replicate. And it was super fun. Like, I think, so I lost semis in one event, but I won doubles that year. So it was a great year for me I think it was 2006.
Gosh, maybe one of the biggest stories that I'm sure a lot of people remember you for is when you dubbed the green, the Manoa Green, and you played for the University of Hawaii, and then Coach John Nelson. You played 4 years as a letterman over there for the men's team, and you've had a lot of incredible accomplishments there and development, I'm sure. Take us through that, if you remember any of your 4 years as a UH Warrior, and what that really meant in your playing career.
Yeah, I think it meant a lot to kind of come back home and be back in the Hawaii community, Hawaii sports and tennis community. I was away for 4 years, growing up in Florida during high school for a tennis academy and the ITF circuit. So it was really like a home welcome for me to come back to Hawaii and represent UH, and really put them on a map to kind of be respectable across, the collegiate circuit, and just D1 tennis. And, prior to me arriving at the time, they really didn't have much of success in, the WAC titles. And so, I think that was my main goal, is like, I want to come back to Hawaii. I want to come back and play for UH, for John Nelson, and really bring this program to the next level and see where it can go. My freshman year, we didn't really have a big team. So we were running at like 7 players, throughout the whole season. But again, we had top talent. We had great talent. We knew that, our guys can beat anyone in the country. And, I just remember the first time playing the conference tournament in Las Cruces, New Mexico. We had to beat 2 tough teams of Fresno State and Boise State, and no margin for error. And it's one of those. It's like, we've never been to the semifinals or finals at that point in time, but we knew we had the talent to do it, and we believed in each match, and we knew that we needed every single player, every single 1 through 6 position to kind of do their best, and which they did. Spencer Mendoza or Andreas Weber, who clinched the championship for us. I believe it was Andreas Weber, it was one of the players. I definitely did not. I know me and Sasha pulled out an amazing match in the finals, but I just remember, like, we weren't expecting to win that year, in a sense of like, it was a championship or bust type of expectations. But at that point in time, like, we had the opportunity to win it, and the moment that the last point ended and we ended up winning the duel and winning the WAC championship, it was like one of the best feelings ever, because at any point in time before that, I never have been part of like a team atmosphere for a whole year. And so going through the ups and downs as a team, and then coming up and reaching your goal first year out, was an amazing and super, like, it was a feeling that it's so hard to replicate, because it's just like, you go through it and you experience it as a team, and it's like, being part of a team has always been way better than trying to achieve things by yourself. First year, it was like, okay, wow, we did this. And then, I won Rookie of the Year, Freshman of the Year, being the guy that won, Player of the Year. So that was a lot. That was even better. That was kind of like icing on a cake. We got Leo Rosenberg, who came in off of his, I was a sophomore and he was coming as a freshman. So our team was getting deeper. And so expectations started to kind of accumulate. And, sophomore and junior year for myself, like, we ended up three-peating, which was amazing, and, I think each year had its own special memory and special moment for it. Like, first year, it's the first time our program has ever done that well. Second year, it's at home. We're playing at University of Hawaii with an amazing crowd, and we beat, Boise State, who was top 20. It's just that year, like, we knew, like, we were having some tough battles against Fresno State in the semifinals of the tournament. Sasha Heiner ended up pulling it out. So it's just like every year. And then my last year that we won it, I was a junior. We played at Fresno State. It's a venue that we never play well at. And Jeremy Tweed, who was playing 4 at the time, was down and out, and then some miracle happened and he pulled it out and, clinched the match for us when it was 3-3. And it's just one of those, it's like, we weren't expecting to play well, but we just played well at the right moments for all 3 years. Again, each year had its special moment to it. And so it's hard for me to kind of pick and choose like my favorite moments, but each one has its unique and special way to remember it by. So it was special.
I'm really curious in particular, Dennis, because you already were a pretty darn good player. And then you meet Coach John Nelson. And I've had some talks with John Nelson over the years when he was coaching there. He's not there anymore, but it's Joel Kuznier's now. Awesome coach. John had a very interesting way and philosophy to coach tennis players and develop them. Do you remember anything in particular that Coach John shared with you over the years and maybe played a role in developing your game and as well as yourself?
Yeah, if I'm going to be frank, I remember and he was one of the main reasons why I decided to go to UH. Kind of being exposed to John Nelson, Coach Nelson, before I went to college, because, my brother Derrick played for UH as well under John Nelson. So I was already exposed to his teaching style and his philosophy for the game and his success for developing players at San Diego State prior to University of Hawaii. By the time I came to UH, I that was the reason, like I would say 50% of the reason why I chose to play for UH was for him. Half the other 50% was I wanted him kind of, again, what I mentioned before was, bring Hawaii to the next level for college tennis. Yeah, I mean, his philosophy for the game was different and unique, and it made me look at the game differently than I have playing at tennis academies and training at tennis academies. And so it's more of the mental side of how to approach your technique, how to approach, the way you think on the court. I think he made me fall in love with the game, love with the game all over again. And I think that's what really ignited my passion for, the upcoming years, afterwards. His way of thinking of, how to hold down the line so that way you can hit the ball better going cross court, how to apply pressure in certain situations, simplifying the game, his brilliance at the net, double styles. That's what really made me stay for 4 years. I mean, I could have left, a year or two, because initially that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to play 1 or 2 years, get some collegiate experience, and then go on a pro tour. That was kind of what my goal was pre-college, because that's what everyone else does when your aspirations are to become pro. First year, with the amazing win at WAC, being under John Nelson, you start to be like, well, maybe I'll stay another year. And then sophomore year happened, we won another one, and it's just like, well, let's just see how things go because everything's going well. And so that's when I started to decide okay, I'm going to be here for I'm going to play out my year, my full 4 years under John Nelson, because it's been a hell of a ride, an amazing experience, learning from him and learning from my teammates, and the culture there was just, second to none in my opinion.
What was the biggest thing you think he taught you as a player?
What he taught me, so the sessions that I had that were the best was when we were working on, so his thing is about being disciplined, right? Doing everything correctly every single time, like doing the same thing over and over again, to the best of your ability and correctly. And I'm probably botched how his phrase is on that, so excuse me for that. But but basically it's one of the it's a way of thinking where if you're going to do something, do it correctly, do it over and over again, and you stay disciplined no matter the circumstance. If you're tired, if you're kind of feeling differently that day, it's like you want to create that discipline type of mentality, because that's what's going to show up in a match, right? So it's just like when pressure situations happen, you want to make sure your habits are correct. And so the sessions that we had where we're playing long periods of time, and it's all about not what you do on your first ball, but can you do it for 20 or 30 balls in a row? And those are the drills that he had for us do was meant for that. It's, can you hit the same serve 7 times in a row? If you don't hit 7 in a row, you keep going back to 0. And so it can take you 5 minutes, it can take you 1 minute and one try, and you make 7 in a row, or it can take you 45 minutes to an hour. So it's all about your mind. Your mind is your biggest weapon, right? It's like if you start to think incorrectly, it's going to happen. So you want to make sure you're just in the moment and you're thinking of the correct things, technique wise and footwork wise, and where you're hitting the ball. I think that's what really made me go to the next level with him. Every practice, every ball has a meaning. Regardless of what the drill is, you're going to do everything correctly, and you're going to compete your butt off, and win, lose. If you do the right thing, that's all you can ask for.
You make the decision after your senior year to go pro. And I mean, you did some incredible things. You won a Futures event here in Honolulu. You played in multiple challengers, including the Kyla Racquet Club one, where you even played Jack Sock. I think you've even played, Jesse Levine and some of those other guys down here, Michael Russell and those guys. And then you end up working with Coach Michael Chang, and just incredible stuff. But I'll let you do it. I'll let you chat. Take us through just the pro experience of Dennis Lajola. What stands out to you, and what do you remember as very fond memories?
Yeah, I mean, that was always my aspiration to become a professional tennis player. And, I'm lucky enough to say that I was able to give my all to it and, see where it landed. And obviously I wish I was able to reach, what everyone aspires to be as a Grand Slam winner, but that's like, 1 in a billion chance that happens. But from going from college to the pro circuit, I really want to say I want to give my thanks to like Coach Nelson again, as I mentioned before, was he really made me love the game again. Because before that it was, going to from a tennis academy, it's just like really methodical. You just every day is a grind. And especially at that age, some people love it, some people don't. I kind of felt out of my passion for the game, but I was just doing so well that you just can't stop. Coach Nelson was able to kind of just get me to love the game again. And so moving to the professional circuit, I was able to use that passion that I had from college to apply it to the pro circuit, where I really started to focus in on my fitness. Because when you go from college to pro circuit, it's you have to eat, sleep, and breathe the game. It's you wake up, you're thinking about it, you sleep, you're thinking about it, and not just from the tennis aspect of it, but it's like what you're eating makes a big difference. What you're doing off court with the gym and like the track and just how your conditioning is as probably even more important than, how you're hitting your forehand that day, to be honest. You spend a lot more off court conditioning and stretching and all that stuff than you do on court of actually hitting forehands and backhands. That was kind of the biggest takeaways that I got from playing in the pro circuit, was just the journey of it. The process was completely different than what I've ever had to do before. And I loved it. I think I loved, going to the gym early in the morning and, playing, 4 or 5 hours a day for tennis, but then also doing 4 or 5 hours of either on-court conditioning, stretching, and just things to kind of get my body better. I would say my biggest my favorite memory was qualifying for my first ATP event I ever played for, was the San Jose Open. Prior to that, I never even played an ATP 250 level tournament. And then, just timing wise, was in California. So I drove up to San Jose, California from Southern California, where I was kind of training at, which was kind of my base. Played the qualifying draw and had a tough kind of draw, I would say. And, on my birthday, beat the number 1 seed in the qualifying round, which was Raheem Ram. And this was indoors. So I was like, I have no expectations. I'm not an indoor tennis player. I love longer points. So this is really not going to fare well for me at all. It just felt great. I think that whole qualifying round felt great. I had some real big upsets, from first round qualifying to my last round qualifying, and then qualifying, to the main draw. So that was kind of, I guess, my best moment of my professional career, of really reaching that level of an event where it's, you're playing on a big stage. You get to use the Hawkeye Challenge. The event that you see on TV, it was special to me as far as memory wise. And then, I think I couldn't have reached that moment without, the help and guidance of Michael Chang, who really helped me out during my professional career, training with him in Southern California. He's definitely given me really, great advice on and off the court, how to approach the game, how to work hard, how to think on the court, and just, really appreciate, the game of tennis. So he's definitely given me great advice. And it's one of those, it's like, I tell everyone, going through one of his practices are always a challenge just to get through it physically. So I think, he definitely made me know how to get through tough challenges, even though, it's going to be a kick in the butt.
And I remember actually, I was surfing the ATP tennis website one day, like back then, and I saw your name pop up. So I clicked it, and I saw you had a full-on interview to introduce kind of who you were, because I guess ATP wanted to kind of do like a little bio on you because they never seen you qualifying for that ATP event. And I saw that, and I was like, yeah, boy, that's a Hawaii guy right there, man. And it was just so cool getting to see you experience that and say you've made it. That's big time. Guys, as a ATP Tour, if you guys don't know, when you reach those big events, guys, there's the ATP 250s, the 500s, the Masters 1000s, which you hear about at Rome and Indian Wells, and then the Grand Slams. The ATP 250 is a big deal, guys, when a player makes that. So Dennis made it. That is such a cool accomplishment, Dennis. And you summed it up well working with Michael Chang. What was it like, though? I'm curious, just because you are a Hawaii guy, you tie here. What was it like playing the pro events that were here in Hawaii, the Futures, the Challengers? I mean, one of the best memories a lot of people still know about you is when you played Jack Sock live on KRC's court when the Challenger was there, as well as the stuff behind me at Corp. Do you remember any of those particular matches and those events?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think I remember playing all the events in Hawaii. You know, it's just you play in front of your home crowd is always good. It's fun. It's you feel at home. Me against Jack Sock. Yeah, I definitely remember that because he handed me a good beating for sure. But it was fun. I mean, just playing at Kailua Racquet Club always brings great memories just from playing the doubles, the Kailua night doubles so many times. And so playing it in a singles event was, nothing different in a sense of how everything was ran and the atmosphere. It was the same type of atmosphere. So it's just one of those, it's different because you're playing singles, but the same as far as like how it felt as a player. But yeah, playing against Jack Sock, I mean, he was up and coming at the time. I forget what his ranking was, but he was making a name for himself. He already won the mixed doubles, US Open championship. I remember because I love the Kailua surface because it's fast. But when you're playing someone who has a huge serve like him and a big forehand, you kind of wish it was slower. So I remember, I remember it very well as far as like his kick serves being so hard to return, his forehand having so much weight and speed behind it. I just wish I had a lot more room to run around in because that's kind of my game. But it was so fun to play against him, and then seeing him evolve to the player he is, and top 10 player. I think top 8. I think at the time, I think he was top 8 even. But then winning multiple doubles, Grand Slam. So just to say I played him is something unique and something that I definitely treasure. Even though I took a loss on it, but it was. I think that was that was a match before I qualified for the San Jose. So it's one of those like playing him in that environment really helped me be in better position to handle the ATP tournament that I qualified for. So it's one of those like I took a loss on that, but then went to San Jose and played, and that memory again. It's just like 2 good memories as far as 2 tournaments back to back. The Futures events, I won one at played, the one behind the screen behind you at Corp. They've always been great tournaments to play in, and I've done. I won the one at so that was one of my favorite moments and memories because of winning a tournament that always sticks with you. But again, playing at for the Futures is like. I love those courts, so I've always played well there. And then the Corp one, tough tournament. I would say for Hawaii, for the Futures in Hawaii, Futures and Challengers in Hawaii are tough because, it's at the end of the year for the most part, and it's Hawaii, so all the top players want to come and play in Hawaii. Talking to playing on the pro circuit for a few years, you get to a point where it's like. If you see a place that you can go to and visit and it's a pleasant and kind of like a destination, like a vacation destination, and you can play tennis there, a lot of players want to do it. And so that's where it was hard to play Hawaii tournaments in a sense of competition level because you have the best players coming in because it's Hawaii. So I think it's a good thing for the tournament, tough for players who, have to go through a tough draw from their very first round.
I was fortunate enough to see you when I think it was a wild card tournament to get in that Challenger at the Racquet Club. I saw you play, work your way up and then eventually play Roberto Cid, which, I had to look him up later and I didn't realize he made top 200 in the world. I was like, whoa,
he's doing well.
Yeah, he was up and coming. And I was like, Dennis, you were taking it to him and you were playing him hard. And it was, and you had crowds both those times, and you end up playing Sock. And, Jack goes on to say that was the biggest crowd he's ever seen at a Challenger. It was like almost all of Hawaii tennis was there, and they had your back, which was, just so electrifying to even be there and filming your match in particular, which was awesome. We can't go any further without talking about the men's night doubles. And, that is maybe the first experience I ever got to see you play. And I'm sure a lot of people even got to meet you and get to see Dennis Lajola on court, which a lot of people never seen before at that time. And you've had many years where you played the tournament with Ikaika Job and even Michael Yanni one time. And gosh, I mean, the list goes on. You have multiple titles, but just so many stories to probably tell, I'm sure, from then. Do you remember any of those days back then from, I think it was 2009 was the first time you might have played the tournament? I'm not sure.
Yeah, I actually played it very young. I played it one time. So this is, I think, the year that Ikaika won it.
Okay.
With Bradlon Tucker. I played it in 04, 03 with Shannon Alcon. I think we got automatic entry into the main draw because I think I was doing very well in the USTA level and all that stuff. And then we won our first round and played Ikaika Job and Bradlon Tucker. And it went 3 sets, but it was like, you have the right word for it, electrifying as far as atmosphere. And so I remember playing that as a 14-year-old. And then it's like, oh, I got to play this again sometime down the road. But, as a junior playing Kalamazoo, it's like timing-wise, it doesn't really kind of fit your schedule. And so I knew the moment I can play it schedule-wise, I would play it. And I did during college, partnered up with Ikaika for my first 2. I think the first year we played it was probably one of the biggest crowds I ever had. When we played Mata and Dribbler, I think we played in the first round, in the finals, because we played Wei Yu and Min Lee semis.
Right.
I mean, those are crowds you can't forget. People on the roofs. I remember like the first time playing it. It's like the finals, like people are on the roofs. And I was like, this is just crazy. Like, it seems like it's Davis Cup for like the pro level, like the type of cheering and all that stuff. And you're playing at night and the intimacy of how the court is set up. It's like people are pretty close to the court. And so it's just like, you can't really replicate that kind of atmosphere. I don't even think you can as far as like any other pro level tournament.
Wow.
So it's one of those, you got to give kudos and all the knowledge to Bruce Nagel and Jared for and the whole Kailua racket club staff and board for putting a tournament like this each and every year. Definitely one of the best tournaments I've ever played, best venues I've ever played, best crowds I've ever played in front of. Every year, you get kind of psyched for it. You get pumped for it when that July, August time comes around and you start training for it. And, you're like, oh, yeah, I can't wait to play at night, play in front of the crowd and, hopefully winning it. So, I was fortunate enough to win it, a few times with Ikaika and 1 year with Mike Yanni, both amazing partners. I couldn't say there's one tournament that I pick above one over the other because every one was, I would say, equal as far as like uniqueness to it. And I to be honest, I wouldn't be able to pick out one year that I would say what kind of ranks above every other one. All years that I played and have won all rank the same to me because it's like, you win another grand, like it's like winning a Grand Slam. I don't think anyone ever kind of ranks a Grand Slam. It's just like, this is one of the best feelings you have for the year, and, fortunate enough to win a few of them. And always got to thank, the KRC faculty staff and Bruce and Jared for hosting an event like that.
And I know you've had many, many runs and many, many titles actually out of the thing. I think you have like maybe 4 or 5 titles at this.
Yeah, I might botch it. I think I have 5, but I might be wrong on that one. But I think I have 5. 5.
Yeah, 5 night doubles titles, guys. That's something awesome. I know you didn't want to pick a tournament, but I'm just curious about any matches. I mean, what do you remember out of all those times you've ever played were maybe some of the most memorable tennis matches you've ever been a part of in that event?
In Kailua?
Yeah.
I mean, one of them was probably my first year winning it with the Ikaika. The reason why I remember it was because I don't think I've ever played a cleaner match tennis wise than that doubles match in the semifinals against Wei Yu and Min Lee, because for some reason from the very first time I hit the ball, like I think I was returning, like it felt so good, and it felt so good the whole match, and things were happening perfectly. And I think those are the matches, like sometimes you just remember, it's like, man, wish I can play like that every single time. And it was like, I think it was an anticipated match that everyone was like wanting to watch, because Wei Yu and Min Lee are amazing players, and everyone wanted to see how, you know, the outcome would be. And so like the anticipation was just kind of high, and just kind of going from the very first ball, just feeling great, and just knowing that I was going to just do well throughout the match, I think stuck with me, because I think we ended up winning like 2-2 or 1-1 or something. It was kind of like, yeah, it was a kind of like a routine match, but not because, you know, Min Lee and Wei Yu just didn't play good. It's just, I just went through like, kind of like I blanked out, but then just blanked out in a good way, in a sense of like just hitting. Yeah. Didn't even think about hitting the ball, but I just hit it and everything was going in. I was just hitting as hard as I could, and it just one of those, like I felt like I couldn't miss. And then Kaika played well, and so I think that was one of the matches that really stood out for me. I forget which year was it, but we played, you know, Mata Tribbler, me and Kaika, and we went 3 sets. It's just one of those. It's just like you start to get nervous a little bit, and then things start to get closer in score, and I believe Mata and Tribbler like really had kind of, I think it was like the 3rd set or something like that, and they had opportunity to break us for the match. I think I was serving, and it's just down love 30 or love 15 or something like that. It's just one of those. It's like they're playing good, and then we end up winning, I think, the 3rd set, I believe. This is where my memory starts to kind of get blurry, but you probably need to fact check me on the scores on that. But it's just one of those. It's like we barely just win. You know, those are kind of sometimes matches that you just like kind of remember as well, as far as like being one of your favorites. It's just like the matches you're not kind of supposed to win as far as how you're playing, but you just somehow pull it out of the hat. And then, you know, me and Yanni winning our first one together against Mata Tribbler, you know, super close match as well. And we just played kind of the points better at the most critical moments. And, you know, that's when we were both just coming off the tour too. So we were pretty like sharp when it came to big moments. And so it's just like playing with Yanni for the first time and winning it with him for the first time kind of was also definitely memorable.
You know, just I want to say on behalf of the Hawaii tennis community and as fans, Dennis, thank you for doing what you do, and you know, always playing these events and inspiring us to, you know, just do great things in tennis, and hopefully for kids watching down the road to do the same. So thank you for that awesome journey you took.
No, thank you for having me, Shane. And yeah, you know, hopefully this kind of inspires just the younger generation to kind of just reach, you know, set goals and work hard to reach them. You know, I think, you know, my journey can be done by any player, any young player that's looking to do something with their tennis career. Just taking it one match at a time, and just kind of, you know, working hard and utilizing each practice to the best of your ability and learning every day. And, you know, you never know what you can reach until you push yourself to those limits and then even beyond. So that's definitely my advice. That's the advice that I've always received from all coaches, is set high standards and then reach them, do everything you can to reach it, and then go above it.
But don't go anywhere yet. We got one more segment, and this is the fun one, is the rapid fire questions. So if you haven't seen the end of the interviews of the other videos I've done, and you know, basically I ask real simple questions. It's really a personality kind of thing. Sure. It's fast, it's quick, it's fun, and we just get to know you better. So you doing okay? You ready?
Yep, let's do it.
All right, cool. Dennis Lajola, what's your favorite color?
Green and blue. Green for UH and blue for personal clothing and footwear.
Oh, awesome. 2 is better than 1. Right on. Favorite music artist?
Kygo.
Kygo. Right on. What brand of music is that?
Dance music.
Dance. Oh, right on. Guys, hit up Spotify and iTunes. We're going to check that out. Role model growing up. Who was your role model?
Michael Chang.
Michael Chang, right on. I'm sure he really just loved that if he's hearing that right now. Racket of choice. What was the racket you were using back then?
Racket of choice would be Babolat.
Favorite movie?
So I'm going to say on top of my head right now, I'm going to say Draft Day.
Draft Day. What's that about?
Kevin Costner, NFL Draft Day.
Oh, NFL Draft Day. Oh, awesome. Right on. I never seen that. I'm going to have to check that one out. Most memorable Hawaii tennis experience?
Freshman year winning WAC or first year winning Kailua Night Doubles.
Ooh, wild card question. Favorite hair product?
I usually use the hair wax, but because I work at Nike, I usually just wear hats. So, but hair wax. I don't know. I don't know. I don't have a favorite brand, but I normally use like hair wax if I'm not wearing a hat.
Favorite Hawaii tennis courts? When you were here, where did you like to play?
So growing up, I played at Barbers Point. That's where I practice at. That's like my sanctuary growing up. I love playing at UH, and then Kailua Night Doubles for Kailua Racquet Club for kind of like those big events, like individual events. So training, Barbers Point, UH was kind of like my home, as collegiate, and then your personal individual tournaments, Kailua Racquet Club.
Favorite beach? Where was your favorite beach when you were in Hawaii?
Waimanalo.
Waimanalo. Why is that?
It was just long stretches of beach, so you can kind of walk around, and then like no reefs. So it was one of those. It's like I went there a lot during college with some of the guys on the team, and just able to hang out and kind of go in the water and cruise it a little bit. But definitely pretty far drive from UH if you had to go. But I just like the long stretch of beach and just kind of like the view and calmness of the winds.
Favorite place to eat? Where did you like to eat here?
I would say, so this might be kind of cheesy, but I love Ala Food Court.
Oh, right on. A lot of good choices there.
Well, I want a food court, or now that the Shirakia Village.
Oh man, Shirakia is definitely what's up. That's the place to eat for sure.
Yeah, those would be my top two if I was gonna have to like eat all the time. I don't know why, but I just love the mall food courts.
Dude, we should just build a Nike Corp right there in Ala Moana and tell them to recruit you and come back here.
Definitely do it.
Singles or doubles? What would you rather play?
Singles.
Favorite hobby other than tennis?
Love hiking. So like if I can do something with my wife, hiking.
Favorite pro tennis player of all time?
Of all time? Nadal.
Favorite Grand Slam? This one could be interesting because I know you've played in them as the juniors, and watching them as a fan. Do you have a favorite?
US Open.
US Open. I'm curious. Why is that?
Love New York City. Love the crowd there. It's like Kailua Racquet Club. It's electrifying. And then as an American, you grow up wanting to play your best tennis at the US Open because it's like your home field. So US Open as far as my favorite to watch too, because you can I love night matches.
If you could give one tip, Dennis, to an aspiring junior player or a total beginner to the game, what would Dennis Lajola tell them?
Play as often as you can.
Play all the time, right? Especially if the courts are open. Right on.
Yeah, that's kind of my biggest tip for anyone that's just getting into it, anyone that's kind of playing competitively a little bit, or even someone that's plays on the elite level. You get better the more you're on the court. Don't skip days if you can. Play 6-7 days a week, especially in the beginning. You want to make sure you get as much reps as you can. Love the game as much as you can. Just be obsessed with it. That would be my tip.
You have the floor at the moment. Is there anything you'd like to say to the Hawaii tennis community, your fans around the world, friends, family, your former teammates? Anything you'd like to say?
Thank you, Shane, for hosting this and inviting me to talk on here. It's always nice to kind of just connect with, back home in Hawaii and connecting back with the Hawaii tennis community. Obviously, I wouldn't be able to have reached kind of the levels that I've reached unless having a great support system like my family, my coaches, my peers that I've trained with, everyone did play an instrumental part of me growing as an individual and as a tennis player. And I could not have done it with anyone that has impacted my life, on and off the court. So definitely want to thank them for sure. There's too many to name, and they kind of know who they are if they're watching this. And I've told them a bunch of times that I thank them for everything that they've done for the tennis community. Hopefully one day I come back and play night doubles if my schedule allows. Won't be as fast and as young as before, but hopefully one day I can come back and play the night doubles, one more time, and see where it goes. But, the Hawaii tennis community has always treated me so well, has always welcomed me with open arms coming back from the mainland. And, they're always family.
Dennis Lajola, thank you so much for joining us here on the show and just sharing your story and, spending time with us as, we all need it right now. And, it's inspiring. I'm sure that there'll be people out there that'll remember your name for years to come. And, boy, that would be something special if you did come back, God willing, of course. But, just thank you for being on the show and hanging out with us today.
Thank you, Shane. Appreciate it. It was fun being here.
Right on. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in to Tennis Ninja TV, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed the interview and got something out of it. And like I said before, if you guys love our content or you're curious, hit that subscribe button down below. I believe it's this way. And check it out and support Tennis Ninja. You will be growing tennis if you do it. Until then, guys, hopefully I'll see you next time. God bless, be safe, and aloha. See you later, guys.